General Hospital will reveal exciting details on Wednesday, December 25, 2024. First, this Christmas is nothing short of a nightmare for Jocelyn, wrapped in sparkling lights and the joyful sounds of the holiday. For her, these days should have been filled with happiness, where she and Dex would plan sweet memories together. But now, everything is just a memory. Every corner of the house, from the Christmas tree to the stockings hanging by the fireplace, reminds her of Dex's absence, and it breaks her heart. Jocelyn sits huddled by the window, her eyes staring blankly at the snowy sky. The snow falls heavily, each flake gently landing on the ground, but instead of bringing peace, the scene only makes her feel more sorrowful. Memories with Dex flood her mind like a tide, overwhelming and uncontrollable. She remembers the first time Dex held her hand, his gentle gaze when he softly promised to always protect her. She recalls the evenings they spent together, sharing dreams and plans for the future. She even remembers their arguments, but Dex would always make up with a bright smile and a sincere apology. Now, everything feels like a deep void in her heart, a wound that will never heal. The more she thinks, the more the tears flow down her cheeks, not just with sadness but also with longing, helplessness, and a little anger at fate. Carly, watching her daughter from outside, has observed Jocelyn for days. She knows Jocelyn is trying to appear strong, but a mother's sensitive heart can feel the pain her daughter is hiding. Carly quietly enters the room, not wanting to startle Jocelyn. She sees her daughter sitting there, her small shoulders trembling with each sob. Carly slowly approaches, says nothing, and gently places her hand on Jocelyn's shoulder. That soft touch is enough for Jocelyn to turn around and fall into Carly's arms, the tears flowing endlessly. Carly holds her daughter tightly, letting her cry freely, allowing her to release all the pain she's been carrying for so long. Jocelyn silently nods, feeling the sincerity in Carly's every word. She understands that her mother is trying to help her stand up, help her face reality no matter how difficult it is. In that moment, Jocelyn realizes that her mother's love for her will never fade. Carly is not just a mother but also a friend, a protector, and her most steadfast emotional support. Carly's embrace is like a balm for her pain, making Jocelyn feel comforted, loved, and no longer as lonely as before. That night, as Carly stayed by her side, Jocelyn felt the warmth gradually return to her heart. Though she still misses Dex, and the wound won't heal right away, she knows she is not alone. Carly has helped her see even a small light, and from that, Jocelyn is determined to be stronger, to move forward with the love and memories of Dex as the driving force to live a fulfilled life. Second, Isaiah had spent several days preparing for this special evening, hoping to create a beautiful memory for Jordan. When the streetlights began to shine down on the quiet street, he walked into the restaurant where they had agreed to meet. The cozy atmosphere, with the flickering candlelight, added to the romance of the encounter. Jordan appeared, glowing in a simple yet elegant dress. Her eyes sparkled with joy and a little nervousness as she entered the room where Isaiah was waiting. Throughout dinner, their conversation was filled with laughter and interesting stories. Isaiah, with his sincerity and warmth, made Jordan feel comfortable and cared for. As the meal drew to a close, Isaiah unexpectedly presented a small box wrapped carefully. Jordan was a little surprised but also curious as she opened the box. Inside was a small but meaningful gift, a delicate bracelet, chosen thoughtfully to match her style and tastes. Jordan was touched by Isaiah's thoughtfulness. She smiled softly, her eyes sparkling with happiness, and sincerely thanked him. "Thank you so much, Isaiah. This means so much to me," Jordan said softly, her heart full of appreciation. The gift was not just a material item, but also carried Isaiah's heartfelt affection for her. In that moment, they both felt an invisible bond drawing their hearts closer together. Since that evening, their relationship developed naturally and beautifully. They began to spend more time getting to know each other and sharing. Isaiah, despite his full-time job at the hospital, always made time to be with Jordan, making her feel like she was an important part of his life. Jordan also encouraged and supported Isaiah, understanding that his work was not only a responsibility but also a passion. Their love was not just about sweet words but also about sincere care, small but meaningful actions. Jordan realized that Isaiah was not just a companion but also a strong support, someone who was always ready to listen and share both the joys and sorrows with her. Isaiah, whenever he looked into Jordan's loving eyes, knew she was the one he wanted to build a future with. They both entered the relationship with sincerity and trust, creating a warm and complete love. The evenings spent together, the thoughtful check-ins while Isaiah was at work, or the simple yet meaningful messages from Jordan were all proof of the deepening connection between them. Isaiah believed that, despite the pressures of work and life's challenges, the love he and Jordan were building would be the greatest motivation for them both to move forward. In their hearts, a bright and happy future was slowly unfolding, where they would walk together on every step of the road ahead. Third, the Christmas atmosphere was spreading everywhere, but for Molly, this holiday season brought no joy as it had in previous years. After breaking up with TJ, she felt a heavy heart, a sense of emptiness that the twinkling lights and cheerful music could not soothe. Molly sat silently by the fireplace, her eyes distant as she sunk into thoughts of what had passed. In that moment, the doorbell rang, bringing her back to reality. When she opened the door, Rick's appearance before her caused her to gasp in surprise and joy. Rick walked into the house, a gentle smile on his face. He knew Molly was going through a tough time, and more than anyone, he wanted to be by his daughter's side during this holiday season. "I thought you might need someone to share with," Rick said softly, and Molly nodded, her eyes lighting up with a bit of warmth after many days of sorrow. The father and daughter began talking, simple but caring conversations that helped Molly temporarily forget the pain in her heart. However, from afar, Alexis watched the scene with eyes full of anger. Rick's presence reminded her of the harm he had caused, especially to Christina in the previous trial. Anger and resentment surged in Alexis's heart. She entered the room, her voice tense. "Rick, you shouldn't be here after everything you've done." Rick looked up, his gaze meeting Alexis's anger. But before he could speak, Molly turned to her mother, her eyes pleading. "Mom, please don't. I really need Dad right now." Molly's words made Alexis pause. She turned to look at her daughter, realizing the happiness shining in Molly's eyes when she was with her father. Though still angry at Rick, Alexis couldn't ignore her daughter's feelings. She took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions and change her attitude. Alexis sat down, cautiously joining the conversation. Gradually, the tension in the room began to dissipate. Rick, with his sincerity, not only comforted Molly but also expressed his regret for the things that had happened in the past. He didn't expect immediate forgiveness, but he wanted Alexis to understand that he was here for Molly, that he had always loved his daughter with all his heart. As they spoke, Alexis felt Rick's sincerity. She also realized that, despite the mistakes of the past, Rick's presence at that moment was exactly what Molly needed. Molly, seeing both her parents sitting together, couldn't help but feel relieved. Though the relationship between Rick and Alexis was far from perfect, their unity in supporting Molly brought her a glimmer of hope and a sense of security. That evening, the small house became warmer. Molly felt loved, not only by her parents' care but also by the moment they put aside their conflicts to stand by her. Alexis, though not fully forgiving Rick, opened up more as she realized that a father's love was just as crucial in helping Molly overcome her sadness. This Christmas, though not perfect, marked the beginning of the family's journey to reconnect with the bond they once shared. Finally, in the dim corner of an upscale bar, Michael sat silently with a glass of strong liquor in his hand. The soft light from the hanging lamp cast shadows on his face, reflecting the tension and darkness he couldn't hide. Thoughts about Willow and the breakdown of their relationship twisted in Michael's mind, like invisible knives stabbing at his heart. They had once been everything to each other, sharing joy and sorrow, overcoming challenges that seemed insurmountable. But now, everything was just rubble, and the cause was not only misunderstandings between them but also the schemes and deceit of Drew. Michael felt a surge of anger every time he thought about Drew. The person he had once trusted, considered a friend, even family, was the one who had pushed him into this situation. Drew had not only exploited Michael's trust but had also manipulated everything for his own selfish purposes. In his frustration, Michael couldn't help but blame himself for allowing Drew the chance to take advantage of him. But the biggest shock came when Michael opened the envelope from Willow's lawyer. Inside were the papers for a legal separation, each word on the document shouting the harsh truth that everything between him and Willow had truly ended. Michael held the stack of papers in his hands, feeling his heart constrict. He had once thought that, no matter the difficulties, they could find a way to salvage their relationship. But now, all hope had vanished, replaced by pain and betrayal. Michael sat there, his face thoughtful but his eyes burning with cold determination. He couldn't let things end this way. Drew had pushed him into a pit of anguish, and Michael knew he couldn't allow that person to continue walking free. Drew had to pay, not just for what he had done to Michael but for the way he had destroyed the peace in so many lives.